Hey, welcome to the second course video for the song, I'm going to say it like Vessel says it, Caramel. I think generally I say, hey, is there any caramel? I think I say caramel. It's hard to know. When somebody asks you how you say something, you start to question how you say it. So maybe the next time I say caramel naturally, I'll update you guys. But this is the second course video for the song Caramel. I'm musically malnourished, and you're on my journey to go deep and wide in discovering new music and artists. This is where we do a deep dive into the lyrics and meaning behind the music. So as we get in, we're going to take a look at what caramel is. I'm just kidding. I think we all know what caramel is. It tastes good. It's sticky. That's what we get into in this song. So I think this song does continue pretty clearly the theme that's been expressed through many of the songs within this album is the idea of the leak of their identity, this dance between, I think with the fans, I think part of the dance is, should I reveal my identity? Should I stay anonymous? This dance between, I love what I'm doing, but it's also causing a lot of difficulty for me, and inviting us as fans to come dance on the line with them. We've looked at that in past songs, but I think the theme is continued here, and obviously the idea of sticking to them, like Caramel, I think is the go with me type thing. But let's get in, take a little bit of a closer look. All right, so here we begin, which there is a whole pretty long about section for this song that gets into some of how they released the song. They were even partnering with a weatherman from another state who drops a lot of metal lyrics and hints and things within the weather forecast. So they had a whole thing with that, and you can read about that. But let's go ahead and drop down to verse 1. And also, this song was really fun from just a dance perspective, a musical perspective. I, again, am musically malnourished, but I felt, and I think he even hinted at it in the React, a little bit of Latin type vibes within it, a little kind of Hispanic type vibes within it, which naturally, that type of music makes you want to get a little of this, So, but okay. Verse 1. Count me out like sovereigns, pay back for the good times. Now, there are some really good annotations on this listing, so we'll take a look at that. The sovereign, it is a British gold coin, first issued under King Henry VII in the 15th century. Vessel uses multiple meanings, portraying himself as a sort of king of the Sleep Token fandom, as well as expressing a deep sense of betrayal. Now, I can understand this idea of a king of the Sleep Token fandom with the idea of him attaching himself to a sovereign. But that's maybe an unintentional side effect of it. But to me, it really doesn't sound like he's trying to say, I am this king. I think he's literally just saying, I am like sovereigns in your hand, more so than I am the feature on the sovereign. I feel like he's just saying, you're just kind of treating me, and this is where it gets into right here. Count me out like sovereigns compares the speaker to currency, measured, used, and discarded, suggesting they feel objectified or dehumanized. The phrase payback for the good times is dripping with irony. It implies that after giving their audience something meaningful and vulnerable, the good times, they're being repaid with betrayal or exposure, which is really sad, man. In context, it's a bitter reflection on how giving too much of yourself in the music industry often leads to being treated like a product rather than a person. And that is, unfortunately, the side effect of being a public figure. It doesn't matter if you are a public figure in your day-to-day life, and that doesn't even have to be like government. If you are kind of the face of an organization, if you are the owner, if you are a manager, much less if you serve on a school board or, I had been a pastor for 20 years of my life. So I know what it's like to kind of be this front-facing character. You catch the best and the worst of people, and it is incredibly difficult to it's not always that you want to ignore the worst of people, because I think sometimes there's something in that. There is a maturity and a wisdom that sometimes those people can reveal something that can be helpful, that maybe is something you didn't see. It is something to consider. However, most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, people are just going to say hateful things. People are going to do hateful things, and they're not approaching you in good faith. They're not for you. And that's really sad, because drowning those voices out, you can have one of those and 10 positive things, but that one, man, it has a way of eating at you, and can just be really, really challenging, to do the thing you want to do and try to forget about all the crap that people want to cause you. And so, yeah, it's almost, again, this kind of picture of this line, right? Right foot in the roses, left foot on a landmine, this dance between the two. I'm not going to be there tripping on the grapevine, which I think generally, and it might say this here, so let's take a look for a second. Vessel uses double entendre, linking the previous image of triggering a fatal explosion by tripping a landmine, as well as using the image of grapevine as gossip entangling his feet in direction and music. Yeah, this is what I was going to say. To hear something along the grapevine is a common English idiom about gossip and rumors spreading from person to person. 100%. That's what I was going to say. It's like, oh, it came down through the grapevine, or I heard through the grapevine. And that's him saying, like, I don't want to be there tripping on this gossip and all this. Like, I really want to just make music. and a part of the second part of enjoying something is sharing it with others. You see a great movie, you're like, oh, that was amazing. And then oftentimes you're like, I wonder who else has seen it. I wonder if I can't wait to talk about it with this person. Ooh, I really need to bring so-and-so back to watch this with me. The same thing we're doing on here. You guys have loved Sleep Token's music. Part of why this channel exists is that you love seeing somebody else love it. And so the next part he gets into is, they can sing the words while I cry into the bass line. Jeez, dude. He keeps giving us this great picture of these two different things. It is almost that thought of right foot in the roses, left on a landmine, that people are out singing the words, even people genuinely. I think that he's speaking to those that like love the music, love listening, love singing it, love being at the concerts. But there's that side of him that's like, yeah, but this thing is also kind of tearing me apart. Like, you don't understand fully the struggle that I'm feeling within it. Like, I want to be out here enjoying it with you, but there's a part of it that's been tainted for me. And that's so tragic. Wear me out like Prada, devil in my detail, which I think is a nod to The Devil Wears Prada, the movie. But let's see here. They've had some really good interpretations. Yeah, look, this annotation's awesome, man. The people that have been editing this. Prada is a luxury fashion brand, which could correlate to Vessel's costume, his entire persona, playing a character. The reference to a luxury brand is out of character for Sleep Token, usually associated with hip-hop artists and their usual poetic and lore-heavy lyrics. This pivot also aligns with surprising musical elements featured in the opening verse of Caramel, a reggaeton beat played on electric drums. So maybe that's what I was feeling more than like the Latin Hispanic, is this kind of reggae. The line goes on to blend two common sayings in English, the devil's in the details. The Devil Wears Prada, 2003 satirical novel that examines the ideas of superficiality, conformity through the lens of fashion and glamour. Okay, didn't know it was a novel. Saw the movie though. Vessel sings Devil in My Detail, referencing how fame is a double-edged sword, having to mask his true feelings, experiencing discourteous fans, and the identities of Sleep Token being leaked. Yeah, that's one thing that I did find in this song really interesting. Even the use of the word caramel, because so much of Sleep Token's music up to this point, I think, has felt very fantastical. Him really bringing us on the inside with a lot of these songs. And the album even felt like it started off kind of fantastical. And there are still those elements weaved in, but especially this last few run of songs, man, has just been kind of pulled you back into the reality. And the word like caramel, which I'm not saying caramel is a new invention by any means, but even the word caramel feels like a modern word. I swear it's getting harder even just to exhale. Backed up into corners, bitter in the lens. I'm sick of trying to hide it every time they take mine. Backed up, I wonder, I'm sick of trying to hide it every time they take mine. Bitter in the lens. I mean, I understand here, right? This feeling of being backed up in corners. I'm assuming bitter in the lens, and we'll check here in a second. Bitter in the lens probably is the public attention that's on him, maybe the lens of a camera. And so seeing, it's just this idea of him feeling bitter. And you see this in a lot of artists and actors and things like that, notably people like Justin Bieber, or even who was it that was the first Spider-Man? Tobey Maguire, that's who it was. You even saw some of that. It was sad to see as Tobey was getting a lot of heat for some of his his lashing out at paparazzis and people. Man, it would be hard. I could just imagine walking out of my house and there's a bunch of people there trying to take pictures of me. Every time you're getting in and out of a vehicle, when you're walking down the street, not only do you have people that are truly approaching you with the best of intentions. Hey, can you sign this? Can I take a picture with you? And trying to recognize that balance between who you are as this public facing character or person and also trying to live your life. But then you take the people that are just trying to make money off of you, that are trying to rile you up. And I don't know how they do it. It sounds like hell. Let's see what this says. Vessel feels trapped by newfound fame, feels bitter in the lens when people film and photograph him. Time and time again, he's reiterated how he wants the music of Sleep Token to be the things fans focus on, not their presentation or identities. So when people put him under a camera's lens and obsess over his looks, real face, he finds himself resentful, how people have utterly defiled the entire point of Sleep Token. It's always been about the music. Additionally, Bitter in the Lens could relate to their song Emergency. I was wondering with that. With the lines, my blood beats so alive, might bite right through your lens. Man, it is, and some of you have said this in the comments, and what I've tried to do is, it's a lot of times it's easier for me to listen to the song and then make this video directly following it. But I do think, especially with a band like Sleep Token, there's such a theme that's told through the album that I have been trying to just do kind of all the react videos and listen to the songs so that I can kind of have this picture, whether I've gone into detail in everyone or not, you at least get this picture of what's being communicated through the album and then go back and do these videos. But I'm beginning to look at even the past songs earlier in the album through a new lens, pun intended. Because, yeah, I can kind of see this, right? This emergence of him trying to become something new. And even the idea of hiding out in the vents could point to that, trying to remain anonymous. And yet, even as he's trying to do that, he's still being hounded. And so he might bite right through the lens because there's that whole picture of the xenomorphs from Alien. So I 100% agree with this. Vessel biting through the lens in Emergence may indicate his desire to retaliate or bite back in anger at the people behind the lens itself, aka those who idolize his image over appreciating his music. And you do have to wonder, what the specific reasons become for an artist to assume a persona, wear a mask. Part of it is probably the fun of it. If you're somebody who loves to create, if you're somebody who I do think there's got to be this kind of simple, childlike, this would be really cool type thing and what you want to build. The other side of it could very well be I don't really want the issues in my personal life. I would like to, in some ways, it's like have your cake and eat it too. Like, I want to make the music, and of course I'd love to find people that love my music and resonate with it. And I can kind of have this whole separate life where when I'm public and forward facing, nobody really knows who I am privately. So I can kind of live this private life and enjoy that while still taking on this whole different kind of person and persona out in the public. And it's just, there are so many internet sleuths that the ability to do that is probably really challenging. Okay, so then we get into this. And this does seem like, to some extent, a positive thing. So stick with me. Stick to me like caramel. Walk beside me till you feel nothing as well. I was curious on this one. The annotations, which obviously we get this idea of sticking to them. I think it is this invitation to literally like stick with them, stick to them, stay with me. Like, those who love what we're doing, let's stay bonded together and we'll get through this together. The walk beside me till you feel nothing as well, I don't have a strong opinion about. Generally, when you hear something like that, you think of maybe a negative context, this feeling of numbness. It could be a like walk beside me till that storm is kind of past, right? And we forget about that, because there is something about gaining an amount of popularity, an amount of momentum, that you can, I think, ignore a lot of the junk. It's almost like your true fan base, where maybe there was a time that it was just like matching the people that were against you with the people that are for you. There can be this ability where it tips, right? And the people that are with you outweigh the voices that are against you. So it could be, and you can kind of begin to just ignore this because this is doing so well. So it could be something like that. In the annotations, they mentioned the idea of more of a positive idea of these negative feelings, which maybe that's associated to the public persona, but it could also be more internal, like the struggles and anxieties and insecurities and all of that, till you don't feel those things anymore either. So I'd be interested to know your thoughts on which side of that you would land on. They ask me, is it going good in the garden, in Arcadia, in the Eden? Say, I'm lost, but I beg no pardon. This is interesting. We'll look at this in a second. I think they ask him, he responds, I'm lost, but I beg no pardon. I think what's being said here, which ties into the later areas in the song, the one about like growing older, we'll get there in a second, but I feel like the begging no pardon, because if you're begging for pardon, you're begging for like to be let go. And so I think he's trying to say like, yeah, I'm a bit lost where I'm at. I'm still trying to figure this thing out, but I'm not necessarily asking for it to go away. Let's see what else is said here. A reference is made here to Sleep Token's song, Take Me Back to Eden, as it relates to the Garden of Eden. By framing it as a question asked toward him, Vessel signals he has reached the Garden of Eden. As for the following line with the idea that he has not yet found himself inside the garden like he's dislocated. Okay, that's interesting. Excuse me. Up on the dice, but low on the cards. Obviously, this is a gambling type thing. I'm assuming it means, man, I feel like there's multiple layers to this. Up on the dice probably has to do with like rolling dice, and you know, you can keep rolling and keep rolling and keep rolling, and if you're rolling well, you keep accumulating. So I would assume he's saying like, I'm up on the dice in that way, but low on the cards. Excuse me. Probably referencing kind of a second game in gambling, whether it's poker, 21, or blackjack. But also maybe being low on the cards is like having cards to play, things to do, like low on options. Vessel considers his fortunes to be a double-edged sword. He's been fortunate enough to find himself in the position of great fame, with the explosion of Take Me Back to Eden's success being a lucky dice roll. However, this dice roll has led to severe consequences for his personal life, dealing him a bad hand, in the form of harassment and invasion of privacy. Being low in cards means having a hand of cards with a low numerical value, and in most card games, a low hand is a losing hand. There's a sense of helplessness as he's seen the benefit of his fortune, but it is still in a position where he's left unable to fully take control of his own life from this point, and he remains subject to powers he perceives to be out of his control. Man. Such an awesome song, but so heartbreaking too. And then you get in here. I try not to talk about how it's harder now. Can I get a mirror side stage, looking sideways at my own visage, getting worse? So I wonder if it's this idea of like, he doesn't really want to talk about how it's harder now, because I get that, right? And he says that in the later lines. I don't think he wants to be that person who's like, oh, famous person making lots of money, doing what he wants to do. Oh, so hard on him. And I think he's feeling that. Like, I don't want to just come out here and talk about how it's all just, like pity me. And maybe the idea of a mirror side stage is that since he's not going to talk out about it, it's his ability to like, and I'm not saying it's necessarily in a positive thing, but he's almost like going to talk to himself, watch himself. He's not going to tell you how bad it's going, but if he can get a mirror side stage, he can watch his own self getting worse. Every time they try to shout my real name just to get a rise from me. This was the part for me that I think within the album, there were definitely hints, but that one I feel like was one of those straightforward, like, oh, okay, I see what we're talking about here. Acting like I'm never stressed out by the hearsay. I guess that's what I get for trying to hide in the limelight. What a great line, right? That idea of being out on stage, being this public persona, but trying to keep an amount of privacy is like, yeah, I guess that's what I get for trying this, because definitely didn't work. Guess that's what I get for having 2020 hindsight. Everybody wants eyes on them. I just want to hear you sing that top line. I love this, man. It makes me want to bounce. I'm just imagining in a concert, just want to hear you sing that top line, and then we roll into pre-chorus and chorus. That it's, I don't know. The energy I feel like within that would just be so fun. And I think the 2020 hindsight is just looking back like, yeah, I guess I can see how that wasn't going to work. And if I had the ability to go back, like, would I change something? Or it's just the reality of like, I guess, yeah, it just makes sense that this is where I've found myself. Everybody wants eyes on them. And I love the way he uses that, because it almost sounds like a detachment from those who actually really care. You know, I said from the get-go, I wasn't going to even go look, because obviously I could find whatever articles and things, the doxing, his true identity. And I said from the beginning of this journey that I wasn't going to do that. And I haven't done that because I don't know why I'm getting emotional here. You know, not like I know the guy. Here I go with my parasocial relationship, but I can feel empathy there for sure. And I can understand and respect his desire to want to remain anonymous and just do the thing that he loves. And I think that probably just comes from that creative side of myself as well, that like, yeah, you want to do something that brings you joy, or maybe, you know, for him and his writings as well, it was like the therapy for him, as is with a lot of artists, being able to write about, sing about, channel these feelings that you have, these experiences you've gone through. Not only therapy for yourself, but also knowing there are other people out there that can relate and have been through similar things and might find comfort in the music as well. And it could be that channel for them, as opposed to destructing themselves or whatever. You know, it becomes this vehicle for them to release as well. And so even that everybody wants eyes on them feels like a detached language to me. And he's just saying, I just want to hear you sing. And if you don't think I mean it, then I understand. But I'm still glad you came, so let me see those hands. And it's such a, I don't know, within that song, like if you can't go with me on what I'm asking of you, like, okay, whatever, I understand. I'm still glad you're here. So let me see those hands. Like, let's just get back to the music, guys. So stick to me like caramel. Walk beside me till you feel nothing as well. I'm fallen free of the final parallel. The sweetest dreams are bitter, but there's no one left to tell. It says the final parallel could be referring, we've heard that several times, could refer to the last line of latitude, the North or South Pole. In a more metaphorical sense, if vessel feels he is falling free from this certain point, it could suggest a loss of control or an entry into a dreamlike state. Sweet dreams are bitter. Yeah, this is where my mind, I think, went more. It could also be a reference to the band's song Euclid, where vessel may be falling from that final parallel due to the dichotomy that fame brings, while Euclid carries a bittersweet message of hope. Caramel stands in contrast as an angry cry to the world, a parallel I would lay my life on. Yeah, and then bittersweet dreams. Oh, this is interesting. Much like caramel, it's sweet at first, but turns bitter when left heated for too long. By describing the sweetest dreams, dreams of making music, telling a story, and gaining fame as bitter, he acknowledges and reinforces the band's success comes at a price, one that can be both rewarding and painful. But there's no one left to tell. It's likely that dealing with difficulties of fame has become so commonplace it feels pointless to talk about it. Someone may totally understand these feelings. In this case, the point may have already become redundant. On the other hand, the other person simply wouldn't understand and might even accuse him of being ungrateful, as mentioned later in the song. Yeah, and it can be that feeling, of like the whole idea that it's lonely at the top. And it really is, Try to figure out who can you trust, who's being honest. Or that tying into the whole thing about trying not to, what do you say? Try not to talk about it, I try not to talk about how it's harder now. It could tie into that line. And I love this section. Too young to get bitter over it all. Like he's realizing I got, Lord willing, I have a lot of life ahead of me. I don't want to be this bitter person at such a young age, young in my career. But I'm also too old to retaliate like before. Like I've learned some things. And then this, too blessed to be called ungrateful. I know, man, this is such a beautiful, I think this is one of the parts in the song that resonates with me the most because I feel that as well. I turn, oh gosh, I think I turned 38 this year. And it's like, I know I'm not young anymore. I know I'm not old. And so you are like too young to get bitter over certain things. You're too old to act foolish. And sometimes it's like you also recognize that even with some of the challenges, like, man, if I look back over my life and where I'm at and what I have and haven't been able to do and all those things, it's like, sure, maybe I'm not 100% where I want to be or whatever, but I want to have gratitude for where I am. And so I think that's him trying to also bring resolution to that line of like, I don't want to talk about all the time how hard it is because ultimately I'm too blessed to be called ungrateful. And then he gets back into the music. So I'll keep dancing along to the rhythm, which I don't think is just about the music. I think it's also just the rhythm of life that he's learning. And it's like he's never played this song before. And by song, I mean this season of life he's in. A lot of these things are new for him. And so he is trying to have to figure out this rhythm, and it is a dance on the line, and that he's trying to do it well. The stage is a prison. I love the repeated lines here, right? Too young to get bitter, too old to retaliate. The stage is a prison, a beautiful nightmare, a war of attrition, which we've seen that line before. I'll take what I'm given. The deepest incisions. I thought I got better, but maybe I didn't. The annotation was speaking to the idea of, Vessel and self-harm, which we know about, whatever scars on his arm, things like that, that has been something. And he's talked about it in, especially like in songs like Atlantic. And some were saying maybe it's this, like he's gone back to self-harm at times or found himself kind of slipping back into that. That could be the case. Part of me thinks that the deepest incisions are the like inner turmoil that he's facing, these cuts from people that you thought you could trust, then saying certain things about you or whatever, the doxing nature of it all. And I feel the same way with like when people leak music and stuff. That's just so frustrating, because if you've created something and then you've tried to like lay out a calendar of, oh, here's how I'd like to do this, and we can partner with this, and we'll release this art and these little teasers, and then you have an idea in mind that's going to build up to this really special launch, and you have people along the way not enjoying the process with you, but subverting the process. That's painful and annoying and frustrating. And so that being one part of it, and this, all the other things, I feel like that's probably more what he's saying, is that it's those deep incisions. But, it could also lead to the other, which would back up that I thought I got better, but maybe I didn't. But I don't know. I think it could go both ways. I tend to lean toward these like deeper incisions than he's ever felt before. And then the breakdown. In these days of days, let's read these lines first. In these days of days, I wish it all away. I thought things had changed, but everything's the same, even in Arcadia. And then tell me, did I give you what you came for? Terrified to answer my own front door, missing my wings in a realm of angels. This is a really interesting line to me. This could be in reference to a line in Euclid. If your wings won't find you heaven, I will bring it down like an ancient bygone. He's always been the one to help others, but now that the band is blown up, perhaps he feels alone or abandoned by everyone. Yeah, I mean, there definitely is a hint to that. The idea of, the question would be like, who are the realm of angels? And maybe it's just, you obviously have the idea of him missing his wings. So him feeling like he doesn't have something these others have, or he's not able to fly where they're able to fly. I'd be curious what you think the realm of angels, like who are the angels? But regardless, it's like he feels this inability to, and maybe it's somewhat an inability to enjoy ultimately the success that they've found. And then the outro. I'll keep dancing along to the rhythm. This stage is a prison, a beautiful nightmare, a war of attrition. I'll take what I'm given. The deepest incisions. I thought I got better, but maybe I didn't. Man, what a beautiful and fairly straightforward song that's also so sad and frustrating as well to feel the need to write these things or share these things. But I don't know. I think I've said all that I want to say. I'm with him. I'm going to stick to him like caramel, and I hope that you will too. And let's grow that balance. Let's make it an imbalance where the positive outweighs a lot of the negative, and they really can just continue to go on and create the music they want to create. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope to see you in the next one, because we're eating good.